Welcome to today's episode of Free to Lead, Journeys of Leaders, driven by passion, inspired by purpose. My name's Will Steele, and today I'm joined by Glenn Poulos, who's been selling his whole life. He's a very experienced salesperson, customer-facing, doing deals all these years. He's got his own business. He sold it in 2022, and he's now operating in Canada under the new business, NWS. And he trains other salespeople, groups of salespeople, management teams, helps start businesses, build and grow, and he's produced great success for companies. And he's written a book. The book is Never Sit in the Lobby. So, Glenn, welcome to Free to Lead.
Hey, Will, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Love to hear your backstory, and this is about your journey. So,
Sure.
listening in and hearing tips, they're hearing, oh, that's great, or I went through something like that, or I'm going through something like that, or how do I fix this? So as you're sharing your journey, if there's nuggets of gold along the way, we want to pick those out and
Sure.
with people. So please, if you can share me
Yeah,
your
sure.
where
Yeah.
you are.
So the story as it's written is that I started as a public servant in Canada, worked for the government, electronic technician for the Environment Canada, fixing weather stuff. And my boss pulled me aside and told me I was in the wrong career. I needed to be selling. And so I took him at his word. So I was only there I graduated in 82, and in 85, I quit and I got my first job in sales, working for a company selling electronic instrumentation, and I really loved it and did it for a number of years. But as time wore on, I realized that the owners of the company were doing better than the salesman. The salesman could only leverage themselves one-to-one, right? Whereas the owner can leverage themselves one-to-many, right? And so in 91, I approached them about a business idea. They rejected it. So I left that firm and I started my own company, which I ran for 15 years until the early 2000s. And I sold it to a public company. And I went to work for that public company. That was not the glory deal that I thought it would be. And that public company ended up going bankrupt before they fully paid me off. So it was a financial setback after getting all these shares. And so I had to start over in 2007. So I created another new company in 2007 called Gap Wireless. And the Gap that's my name, Glenn Poulos, right? The A is the vowel I needed to create a word. And I ran that for 15 years. And then I sold it to a private equity. This time I sold it for all cash instead of stock. I learned my lesson the first time. And so I ran two businesses of my own for 15 years each, sold both of them. They were really nice exits. The second one was a lot smoother than the first one, and I learned a lot along the way. But the focus over the years was building these sales companies, learning from my mistakes, but also learning how to focus on the customer. And so I came up with the mantra of how to get, act, and stay in front of your customers and to be a pleasure to do business with always. And so that's the mantra of the way I run the business, the way I treat the customers, and a lot of what went into the book and stuff like that. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we're all pleasures to do business with, but that is actually not true. We have lots of competitors that have a formidable business and they're doing really well, but they're not a pleasure to do business with. And they're famous for it. And I'm not saying that they're not successful in their own right in other ways, but we have been successful and we are known for being a pleasure to do business with. And I'm very proud of that.
What is it that stands out about what you do? It's probably in the book, if you could.
It's don't be a pain in the ass, right? Don't be a jerk. When people call, answer the phone with a real human being, right? If people call and then everyone's busy and there's a voicemail, return every voicemail, right? Return every email within a certain amount of time, right? We build our core values around this sort of focus, right? And so our original core values prior to selling the business to private equity were committed to service excellence, solutions driven, passionate contribution, and results matter. These core values every day. We've evolved those core values now that we're a much bigger company, but they still focus on the customer, focus on intellectual curiosity, and especially results matter, right? We've always been solutions driven for the customer. A lot of people, you call them up, I want to buy X, Y, or Z, and they're like, I don't have that. I can sell you this, and that's not really what I need. But we always try to take a different approach and solve customers' problems at the root core of what they need, providing technical solutions. So it's all part of the DNA, but it starts with how you answer the phone, how you write your emails, things like that, right? Simple thing. Customer will send a question to somebody. It's, hey, when is my order 1234 shipping? A lot of people hit reply and say, scheduled to ship November 12th, right? We won't say that. We will say, oh, hi, Will. Thank you for your inquiry. Your order is scheduled to ship on November the 12th. Best regards. Let me know if you have any questions. Best regards, Glenn. We always address the customer, and people are like, what difference does it make? Because what happens is that behavior flows into everything you do. You never address them properly. You don't care to address them properly. And so when those things come out in your behavior and the way you carry yourself, and it shows a lack of being a pleasure to do business with. That's the answer to the question.
Very good. That's a piece of gold for people wondering why their business is not growing as fast as they'd like it to, or wondering why they aren't getting return customers, or wondering why they're getting complaints or silence.
Yeah.
And, inside of the title here of the podcast, driven by passion, you can hear the passion, and inspired by purpose. So you've created that with those principles, those, what did you call them? Core values, those core values, right? And you're serving that. So it gives you a bigger picture to deal with what's happening. Someone's showing up and they haven't got the package sent. Oh, well, we come from this and that. So it's really, I really like the way you connected that. Yeah, great. What have been one of, you mentioned a few, selling it and the shares, but as a business owner growing the business, what's been a challenge that stands out for you that really tested you? Can you think of one of those?
Yeah, some of the things that that have come up over the years were, and one of them I call the reverse Midas touch, right? If you don't know, I don't know if you know what the Midas touch is, but it's where everything you touch turns to gold, right? And so the reverse Midas touch is where everything you touch other than your core business turns to shit. And it's because of a misconception that that just because you've created something that's in and of itself very successful, that everything else you do will be successful, right? And so this is a common problem that I find entrepreneurs, and the shiny syndrome, right? Where it could pick any business, right? Let's say the guy runs car washes or whatever, and he's the car wash king of Canada or the United States or wherever, right? And this guy he's Mr. Car Wash, right? And guess what? He decides that, you know what? I'm going to start making soap for car washes. I got my own business. I'm going to be a customer to I'm going to use my own soap. And then I'm going to go sell that soap to all my competitors, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? He's running the biggest car wash company in North America, chews up 97% of his time. So he spends exactly 3% of his day working on his new business, creating soap for the car wash industry.
Yeah.
So one gets 97% of his time. The other thing, it'll be successful because I'm successful in this. And he spends 3% of his time on it. And then he wonders a year later why it's losing money. He can't figure out why the soap's not good, et cetera, et cetera. It's a different business, but one would intuitively think, hey, if I can run car washes, I can make car wash soap. It's different. One is manufacturing a chemical. The other thing is running an operation. It's totally different. And don't get ahead over your skis or whatever they say in terms of thinking that just because you're good at something else, you can just do something else and not spend the same amount of blood, sweat, and tears on it and have it be successful. And that's really the mistake, is that you can't be in two places at one time. So if you're going to create a company making soap or whatever, and that's just an analogy, a metaphor, whatever, right? You need to then pivot and make sure your business is 100% solid, and then pivot your attention and put as much as you put into the first thing into the second thing.
Where was that in your past, that like you learned that? Because so people can hear that or
when
learn
we
it.
started when I started my second company, Gap Wireless, in 2007, there were a couple years in, there was a massive cell site build in Canada come on, the Odyssey program, and the carriers would do anything to find people, two bobs in a truck, to climb the towers and install the network. And we made this mistake of thinking that, hey, we can not only sell the equipment, but we can create a division installing the equipment. And we made two fundamental mistakes. One, some of our customers were people that climbed towers and installed things, so we looked like a competitor. And two, there's a big difference between rolling trucks every morning with crews on them and tools and ladders and
Yeah.
safety and harnesses and insurance than there is buying a product from Sweden and selling it in Canada. You know what I mean? Two totally different things. And ultimately, that group ballooned to be big, much bigger than the division that we'd started, but ended up losing massive amounts of money and almost bankrupted our business. And we ultimately had to sell it off. And I use that word very loosely, sell. We had to basically get rid of this business and focus back on our core. And actually, when we did that later we grew to have our best years ever, which was what allowed us to sell the company later for us, which was a record number that we never thought we would get to. And so that's a real world example of don't think just because you can sell products, you can climb a tower and put them up. Two totally different things.
Businesses, structures,
Yeah.
way to work, organize everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a saying, stick to your knitting. Another
Exactly.
one is stay in your lane. It feels
Yeah.
like it's constraining, but when you do something like you just said and you get hurt like that, you really learn that lesson. It's very different than
You
someone
do.
saying, stay in your
Yeah.
lane, stick to your knitting. You say, yeah, okay. You
Absolutely.
understand it, but you don't actually really get it to your bones. I'm sure you
Yeah.
do. Yeah, very good. All right, great. What would you say to somebody who's struggling right now in that growing their business or managing the growth of their business, particularly if it was in sales, given that's your speciality?
Sorry, can you just restate the question? I want to get the
Yeah.
answer. So
So
just
somebody's
make sure.
listening, and there they are. They're facing some struggle right now in their business, saying growing the business or trying to be more effective in their business. It doesn't have to be in sales, but you're in sales, growing a sales business.
Yeah,
What
sure.
is a kind of advice you could give to them? Or
Sure. So one of the things that jumps out at me all the time is that, and I didn't make this up. It's not mine. But we use a system in our business called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's a very world famous system. There's 80,000 companies in the world running on it right now, and it's an operating system on how to structure a small to medium sized businesses with the systems and processes to help you run your business in a repeatable way, right? And they have a saying that all the problems in a business can go back to your accountability chart, right? And the accountability chart is this concept of having the right person in the right seat. And and this is whether it's the sales department, marketing, finance, operations, doesn't matter. A lot of times companies evolve over time with people and the DNA of the business, and they take the right person and they put them in the wrong seat, right? It's Jack's been in sales for 12 years and everyone else has only been around 3 years. So Jack's the director of sales.
yes.
Right? Wrong person, wrong seat. And
Yeah.
so Jack is actually your number one revenue producer. He could sell circles around anyone else in the business. Why in the world did you make him sales manager? That's the biggest thing about is structure first, people second, right? That's
Yeah.
something that I learned through this system and that we adopt and we follow very closely to this day. And what it means is that you need to look at your business holistically and figure out what do we need, whether it's in our sales team or in our finance team or ops team or whatever, in order to run the business efficiently. And then once you've figured out the structure, recruit people either from within or from without for those seats and put the right person in the right seat.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means recycling people, having them move on to find something better, more aligned with their jobs and whatever, or their skills, I should say. But yeah, this concept of having the right person in the right seat, especially in the sales groups, is so important. And
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can think also of like engineering in the tech world. Someone's really good at their
sure.
job, so they make them a manager. But
Yeah.
they may have no experience whatsoever in management.
Yeah,
So
they think that my top engineer should be my director of engineering. No, but he doesn't work to the timelines. He doesn't know how to measure costs of systems and how much it costs. And you need a different guy to be the manager of engineering than you do to be your senior engineer.
very good. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And then, so what sort of services do you in your business provide? So if someone's listening, hey, we need that. What's the
Well,
service?
we're not a
How would they get
services
hold of you?
company. So that's the one thing that we do is then store your goods in our warehouse. If we have, for instance, if you have large projects, we will, is one of the things we do. But what we do is we find advanced technologies from around the world, and we work with large telecoms in the North America to help them build and maintain and operate their networks, be it either fiber, broadband, wireless, and what have you. But we sell them products, right? We're a product distributor. So we represent companies from around the world.
Yep.
And we bring these products to our North American customers. And so we're a sales company. And because these are large builds, we're often providing a logistical and warehousing and kitting service for them as well. That's the only kind of service that we do, but we don't install it. We don't repair it. Those are our customers do that, right? And that was a lesson we learned long ago, like I had alluded to earlier, right?
Yeah, very good. Very good. And then just to
Yeah.
remind everybody, we mentioned your book, Never Sit in the Lobby. So if you're in sales or want to learn more about being in sales, or you want to master the craft of sales, then they can reach out. How do they get hold of Never Sit in the Lobby? Is it on the website or?
So that's available anywhere in the world, but where books are sold, and you can go to my website. You can find links to that. And if you want to talk to me, the best place to find me is either through my website or glennpoulos.com, or just go to LinkedIn and you will find me there, active every day, and more than happy to chat with anyone that wants to talk about business or sales or anything like that.
Yeah, you can hear real freedom with it. Really mastered it. It's your thing. And really, Glenn, thanks for joining us today on Free
Oh,
to
thank
Lead.
you. Thanks.
Great.
Great to be here.
You're welcome. Thank you.